And now, the most famous live show in the Shenango Valley, because it's the only live show in the Shenango Valley, The Zip Code, and your host, Sean Zip-Eye. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And maybe dogs, cats, animals, I don't know, whoever's watching. Glad you guys could join us today. I am pumped for today's guest. He is a tall dude. He played collegiate football. He played professional football. And I am pumped to introduce him to you guys. Hopefully you guys will enjoy the show. Remember to follow _zip code on Instagram. Remember to like our page on Facebook and subscribe to us on YouTube. Remember, you will not see the producer until we get 1,000 subscribers. We also have some cool giveaways coming up. So without further ado, I am going to bring in our guest. Let me bring in Mike Adams from Farrell, Pennsylvania, baby. Let's bring him in here. Technology, sometimes we got to wait. Mike, what's up, man?
Hey, Sean, how's it going, man? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So just to let you know, some people have said that they've sweated through the interview of the zip code. So, I mean, you might want to grab a Gatorade towel or a drink, but, you might be calm, cool, and collected, though. Hey, there you go. There you go. All right, that checks out. So, hey, real fast, I'm just going to let the viewers know, if you guys want, you guys can ask us some questions. I will try my best to get to them as I can see them popping up on the feed there. And also want to thank our sponsor, Sheets, for having me on the show, or for me having them on the show, whichever way you want to think about it. But Mike, we're gonna get to some questions here. We're gonna get to a rapid fire round where I ask you a bunch of random questions and you have to answer them very quickly. And then I'm gonna add another segment in today it's called Buy or Sell. So I mean, that's a bonus segment just for you, man.
All right.
So born in Farrell, Pennsylvania, but you went to high school in Dublin Kaufman High School, correct?
Correct.
So when did you move? That's close to Columbus, right?
Yeah, right outside of Columbus.
Okay, so did you go to Farrell at all, or did you do all your schooling at that school?
I moved in fourth grade.
Fourth grade. Okay, nice. And how was the football team at that high school?
The football team at that high school was really good. The school's a lot different. I graduated with like 700 kids, as opposed to like 45 or 50 kids at Farrell would have been.
Right.
So it was a lot different. We had like 120 kids on the high school team, so it was pretty wild.
Yeah. So I mean, was Ohio State a shoo-in then when you were picking colleges, because you were the number one ranked offensive tackle coming out according to Rivals coming out in 2008? So was everybody after you, or did you commit very early to Ohio State?
Yeah, pretty much had offers from everywhere, but I committed to Ohio State early on like my 17th birthday. My junior year of high school. So I pretty much knew I wanted to go play for Jim Tressel, and with the guys that we had gathered in that recruiting class. So I would think I was the first one to commit in my graduating class, and I think the next week we had 3 more guys commit right away. So it was kind of a snowball effect.
Right. They committed to Ohio State as well?
Correct.
Any did you visit any other schools?
Oh yeah. I visited a bunch of schools, Michigan, Notre Dame. My first visit I ever took actually was to Michigan, to watch them play Indiana, my sophomore year of high school, I think. Went up to Michigan State, Notre Dame a bunch, Penn State, yeah, a bunch of schools. But yeah, I mean, I kind of knew where I wanted to go. I had some other big schools that I had in my top 5, you know what I mean? There's like Pete Carroll at USC, Les Miles at LSU, Urban was at Florida. and Lloyd Carr was still at Michigan when I committed, so I was interested, but it was being 10 minutes from campus at Ohio State was too easy.
Yeah, that's true. What was it besides just that very small hometown feel for you, just being able to be right there and knowing all about Ohio State growing up? I mean, was it Tressel that sold the deal, or was it just the atmosphere?
Yeah, Tress definitely was a huge part of it. He was just a lot different than any other coach that I ever talked to. A lot different than most people that I'd ever talked to. My parents were really confident that if I went there and played for him, that he'd you know develop me as a young man, not just a football player and things like that. And I can confidently say to this day he has not stopped doing that. So I'm really happy about that decision.
Yeah, that's awesome. He's a classy man. I haven't seen him on the YSU campus, but I believe he's currently the president at Youngstown State, correct?
Yeah, he cruises around on a golf cart. You got to be on the lookout.
All right, gotcha. And does he still wear a sweater vest at all times, or is that just when he was coaching?
Oh yeah, he's very much still the sweater vest. Yeah,
I feel like anybody that wears a sweater vest to this day thinks about Jim Tressel when they put that bad boy on.
it's hard not to, man. It's hard not to. We used to come out walking out of the tunnel at Ohio Stadium, and there'd be a whole student section with vests on.
Yeah,
It was awesome, man.
that's sweet. So I want to also let you know that even though I am a graduate of Penn State and I've only had, as far as athletes are concerned, I've only had Penn State players on. I am allowing you to be on the show as an Ohio State guy because you are a Shenango Valley man. So there you go.
Man, I'm really honored. I really hope this helps out. I know things have been rough for you guys. You're a basketball school now.
Uh,
So,
hey,
yeah.
there,
How do
there are
you
a
feel
few
about that?
there are a few losses that Penn State has suffered the last few years against Ohio State. It still stings. I'm praying that there is a college football season this fall, man. I think Penn State will be looking nice, but we shall see.
I was on a visit to Ohio State for a game. I think it was it had to be like 2006 or 2007, where they were playing Penn State at Ohio State, and Joe Pa pooped his pants and took off running across the field mid-game. You remember that?
I remember stories of that.
They
Yes.
said he had explosive stomach problems. I mean, R.I.P. Joe Pa. Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
What year would that have been?
I think that was like '06 or '07.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Yeah, I will say I was at one Ohio State football game and I sat behind one of those stupid pillars.
Oh, yeah.
It was a
Good
rookie
shit,
mistake, man.
Rookie mistake.
Yeah. But I want to ask you this. How many times did you play at Beaver Stadium?
Just once.
Does that atmosphere is that set apart in your mind?
Um, Coming in the Big Ten, I think um, there's 3 or 4 places that are all pretty much set apart from the rest, and I'd say that being playing at Ohio State, playing at Penn State at night, playing at Wisconsin at night, and Michigan, obviously. But I mean, Michigan, great because that's our game and all, but I mean, the way their stadium's set up, it doesn't get like extremely loud in there for any game but the Ohio State game, you know what I mean? And but Iowa is a heck of an atmosphere. The stands, like the front row of the stands, are like right behind the bench, within arm's reach. So
Yeah.
it's pretty wild.
I've heard that's one stadium you got to try to get to see a game is at Iowa, especially for a night game.
Yeah, things are so close. We had I think Terrell Pryor ran out of bounds, got pushed out of bounds one time, hit the team doctor, and broke his leg like off the bed. Like everything's so close.
Wow,
People can't move out of the way. It's wild.
that's unbelievable. Yeah, I gotta get to some other Big Ten stadiums for sure. But I mean, the craziest, loudest moment of my fan career, quote unquote, was last year when Penn State played Michigan at home, white out under the lights. And they had to take a timeout before the first snap was even off because it was so loud. It was just
Oh yeah.
unreal. But yeah, I do got to get to some other stadiums. I'd like to get up to Wisconsin too. I hear that's a pretty crazy atmosphere.
Absolutely, yeah, man. I like the craziest, loudest moment I ever had in a college football game was in the Superdome down in New Orleans for the Sugar Bowl. We were playing Arkansas, and we were coming out of our own end zone, um, backed up like way on like the 3 yard line, um, and coming off a TV timeout. And it was so loud in there that when we got in our 3 point stance, you could feel the ground shake. It was incredible.
Wow, that was in the
Yeah,
Superdome.
yeah, yeah.
That's unbelievable. Those for even for a fan, man, you just get chills being in a crowd like that. It's unbelievable.
Oh yeah, it's so nuts. It's just like everybody in that place for the same cause, cheering on the team, getting rowdy. Those moments as a football player is like it's insane. People ask the question all the time, like, yeah, so do you notice fans and all that? And it's like, yeah, I mean, there's always like a moment or two from every game where you take it all in for like just a second. You know what I mean? And you can hear and see everyone in there, and it's amazing.
Yeah, I think it'll be. We'll see here with the. We'll probably get a glimpse with the NBA playoffs what it's going to be like without fans. But I don't know, man. I think maybe by the time fall rolls around, they might be able to get some fans in a stadium, but it would just be so weird.
So weird. Yeah, I think they're Ohio State's going to allow 50,000 fans as opposed to like the usual 106 or 110 or whatever it is.
Right.
So it's about like half.
So all the fans would just be a few seats apart then, I guess.
Yeah, which I mean, for a guy like me going to games could make you a little more comfortable, but I think I give that comfort up.
Yeah, true, true. All right, so let's get through some content here. So you go to Dublin Kaufman High School, and then you go to Ohio State. You got 4 years there. You guys were 10-3 your freshman year under Tressel. Then you go 11-2 under Tressel, 12-1 under Tressel, and then 6-7 with Fickle. And then obviously 2012 is when Urban comes in. That 10-3 season, your freshman year, um, was that? I'm trying to think. You guys made it to what bowl game that freshman year?
The Fiesta Bowl, and we played against Colt McCoy, and
That's
they
right.
they beat us on like the last play of the game. Um, for some reason, we were not in prevent defense. I'm pretty sure they had like 40 or 50 yards to go, and they hit a slant, and we had one high safety, and they hit a slant route and took it to the house for the last play of the game.
Wow. So when I'm looking at these records here, 10-3 under Tressel, 11-2 under Tressel, 12-1 under Tressel, and then all of a sudden 6-7 under Fickle. I mean, are we talking coaching that much? Or are we talking a big
Oh
graduating class the year before? What the heck are we talking about?
man, that's I mean, I'm pretty sure that's like the worst Ohio State season in like 30 some years. But no, I mean, there's a lot that goes into that. We had big infractions with the NCAA, so we had I think upwards of 7 or 8, 9 guys who were suspended for the first couple games. Um, there was 5 of us who got in trouble and missed substantial time. It was so you had the All Big Ten left tackle me, All Big Ten running back Boom Herron, All Big Ten wideout Devere Posey, Big Ten Player of the Year Terrell Pryor, and then you had the guy who had the game-winning interception in the Sugar Bowl the year before, Solomon Thomas. Um, all of us out for a minimum of 5 games. One of us kicked out of school. One of us out for 10 games. One out for 7. And then we had like 4 other guys who were suspended for 1 or 2 games, um, for the same stuff. So I mean, that was a coaching change, a decimated roster, the NCAA making a real example out of us. Um, we had a coach who, um, I mean, I feel comfortable saying probably cared about his players as much, if not more, than any coach in college football. um, and was known for being a good guy, you know what I mean? Known for caring about the community, things like that. And, you know, you just have this system that wanted to make an example out of a major institution, you know, and who more major than Ohio State, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, you know, we broke some rules. Like, do I agree with it? I think the rules were crap back then. I mean, you know, um, you know, I think it's not right what the NCAA had done to, you know, class and class and class and class and class after class of kids, you know, just objectifying them, making money off of them. And, you know, you got kids out here who are making millions of dollars for schools who are broke and can't afford to eat at the dining hall because they're out of swipes on their meal card. You know what I mean? So, you know, there's a lot that went into that little slump, but you know, things happen, and we're right back on top.
Yeah. And I'm gonna go on a limb, and I'm gonna say that I think, you know, hopefully um, hopefully players will start to eventually get the pay that they're due in the NCAA. Hopefully that'll happen soon. And I think I told somebody this the other day. I think, let's say that this fall there aren't a ton of fans that are allowed in the stadium. I think that the players are going to see how much leverage they really have and how much those universities need them, because they're going to be out, you know, some of these institutions are going to be out 70 to $100 million.
Right?
So
No, it's incredible.
they'll have enough leverage to say, wait a second, you know what? It's not just enough to give full rides to 60, 70 kids and then, you know, make the rest of that and just pocket it. It's not enough.
Right? No, not even close. And I think they did a really good thing this year. I think it's 2023. They're allowed to start benefiting off their likeness. So,
Hmm.
I mean, at least like kids will be able to. Because I mean, all right. So, for instance, like, say I'm Mike Adams, freshman at Ohio State. You know, I start playing in some games, start doing well, and you know, Buckeye Nation, you know, huge, great fan base. You know, one of the biggest alumni associations in the country. All that. You know, fans notice. You know, we're doing well, teams winning, we're making money for the school. I come outside one day to go to History 101, and there's some fans outside who happen to see me, know who I am, and you know they want to give me $20, $100 to sign pictures for all of them. You're not allowed to. You're not allowed to do that. They're not allowed to buy you a sandwich. Like anybody can buy anyone a sandwich, but just because they know I play football, literally, they're not allowed to. You know what I mean? So it's ridiculous, man. It's just an old system that needs change, and I'm glad that it's that change is on the way for that.
Yeah, it is nuts. And somebody sent a question in earlier that said, you know, why was that against the NCAA regulations? Like, why was trading memorabilia for tattoos against the NCAA regulations? And my guess is, your guess is as good as ours. It shouldn't be.
Yeah, it's a control thing. You know what I mean? And I mean, like, think about it. Like, you're a Penn State guy, right? Like, why in the world, like, if you live in Penn, you know, you live in State College or wherever, why in the world shouldn't you be allowed to call a Saquon Barkley or message him on Instagram while he's in school and say, hey, Saquon, you know, can I pay you $500 to come to my kid's birthday party? You know, something like that. Like, you know, it's a shame, man. There's like so many avenues for these kids to really do something for themselves and their families, and you know, without making it to the NFL, because I think, like, you know, it's like 1% of guys make it to the NFL. You know
Right.
what I mean? And get that payday, and then even the guys who make it to the league, only a certain percent of those guys even ever see a substantial, like, you know, lump sum payday that, you know, takes care of them forever. So it's a pretty wild thing, man. It's a shame.
Yeah. And right now, unfortunately, if we have some of those collegiate kids, you know, on the zip code, you know, we're not throwing money at them, you know.
Right.
But
Yeah,
one day,
man.
my
See,
friend,
we can't even throw them free Sheets gift cards, probably.
that's true, man.
Crazy.
Hey, on that note, thank you, Sheets. Sheets run and done. When was the last time you had Sheets, Mike? When was the last time you had Sheets?
Oh man.
It's probably been a while now that you're freaking ripped, man.
I got some fresh fruit at Sheets the other day. The good thing about Sheets, they got healthy options for everybody.
Amen, brother. You're right about that. So I think you ended your NFL career probably what, around 320, 325.
Yeah, yeah,
What
something like
what are you
that.
what are you what are you at now? Because somebody told me that the other day. They said Mike Adams. I saw a picture of him. That dude's freaking ripped.
I'm like 240.
Wow, wow. So if somebody's watching right now and they're like, man, I need to drop 70, 80 pounds. What's the secret?
Oh man, stay active. Don't just only drink water. Cut the white starchy foods. So no white breads, white pasta, white potatoes. Switch them out for sweet potatoes, stuff like that.
There you go, folks. Free advice. He's not even charging you today. Not even charging you.
Give you the game for free.
Yep. So you're drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2012. And where are you at when you get the call that you're drafted?
I had a draft party on campus at Ohio State at Eddie George's Grill, and it was pretty rowdy. I had like 200 folks there, and all my friends, family. It was a great time.
Who was the first guy that called you?
So it was actually pretty wild. I was sitting there, and um, I had got a call from the Jets. Yeah, I think it was the Jets or the Eagles, one of those two. And they called and they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna pick you in two picks after the Steelers go." And I'm sitting there on the phone. No sooner as I hang up and I'm about to tell though, like everyone, you know what I mean? My phone lights up and it says Steelers O line coach because I had the number saved from like combine interviews and things like that, and it was the offensive line coach from the Steelers and Coach Tomlin, and they're like, "Hey, big boy, you want to be a Steeler?" And I was like, "Fucking right, man." And yeah, it was pretty rowdy. You know what I mean? The news cameras and all that were there. And, had my mom and my grandparents and stuff there with me. So it's definitely a special moment, unforgettable.
That's sweet. And you mentioned the combine. Was the combine back then in Indianapolis?
Yeah, yeah. So it's always been in Indy, and it's Lucas Oil Stadium every time.
Okay. And did you go to St. Elmo's and try some of that shrimp cocktail?
I did not. I did
Oh,
not.
I thought that was a staple for every single person that went to the common that they had to go to St. Elmo's and try the shrimp cocktail because the cocktail sauce, I've had it a few times. It's absolutely insane. So,
Honestly, I couldn't think of anything else the whole time I was there, man. They keep you going from way before sun up to way after sundown.
yeah. Well, hey, take it from me. If you're ever in Indianapolis and you're looking for some crazy shrimp cocktail and a nice steak, go to St. Elmo's.
There we go. St.
Yeah.
Elmo's.
So let's talk about the Steelers. There's a bunch of people that are watching now and will watch this that are Steelers fans. What was the biggest difference from graduating from playing college ball to professional ball right away? What's one thing that you're like, oh man, this is nuts?
Oh, I mean, just like the age range of guys on your team. You know what I mean? You go from being in college and you're playing with all college age guys. You know what I mean? There might be one or two guys who gets married in college or things like that. And then like for me, my first day, like I walk into the locker room and there's like Troy Polamalu and James Harrison and Brett Kiesel. Like these guys who are in their mid 30s. They're 15 years older than me, 16 years older than me, have whole families at home, you know what I mean, have, been in the league for, 15 years. So it's like, it's wild, you know what I mean? Like, I think when I first got in the league, a guy who I really like looked up to on a day-to-day basis at the Steelers was Brett Kiesel. Um, we had the same agent. He was really helpful. Um, and things like that. So I called him Uncle Brett, you know what I mean? And he called me nephew, you know what I mean? And yeah, so I mean, it's just a lot different, man. And just um, the whole atmosphere of being a pro and everyone being adults. You know what I mean? Like Just referring to people by their first names and not calling, not all the yes sir, no sir, all that. It's like, like when I'm with Coach Tomlin, I'm talking to Mike T. It's like, yo, Mike T, what's going on, man? Like, like stuff like that. Not like when you're walking in to your high school coach's office and you're like, oh shit, sorry, coach. It's like it's a lot different. But it's definitely cool though.
Tomlin, a true players coach.
Absolutely. And I mean, he's a player's coach in the sense that he keeps it real. You know what I mean? Like, and that shit is I mean, that's intense sometimes. We're talking like transparency at a very harsh level sometimes. You know what I mean? But that's the nature of the game. Like we're in throughout the season or in camp. You know what I mean? And like, there's two guys competing for a job. That day when we go out for practice, he's going to put up film of each guy. Like, this is what this guy does well. This is what this guy does well. This is why they're both here. This is what they both do bad, and show film of them getting beat how many ever times on whatever they get beat on. And, he's going to say, he'd usually say something like, yeah, we got two dogs and one bone. He's like, and if neither one of y'all get it done, I'm going shopping. So fix it yesterday. In front of the whole team. You know what I mean? And like, just like, but that level of transparency and having things open like that, eliminates a lot of the gray area. A lot of the guys wondering like, well, why? What can I do better? What should I do? Why is this happening? Like, it makes it a little bit easier to focus, and it gives you something to directly focus on.
Right. At the end of the day, all you can really ask is for somebody to give it to you straight.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, that's unfortunately, I think like in a lot of workplaces as well, that's not the case always. You know what I mean?
No, not at all. Not at all. So you're with the Steelers for 4 years.
4 years, yeah.
4 years, and then you have one stint with the Bears in 2016.
Yep.
Is there any crazy difference between those teams in the NFL? But from your experience, like you walk into the Bears organization, you're like, oh man, this is definitely not the way that the Steelers did it under the Rooneys.
Oh, I mean, some things were definitely different. The thing about Pittsburgh, very old school organization. The Rooney's top notch. Love them to death. They're so great. Treat the players awesome. Everybody. Front office people in Pittsburgh. Everybody was great, and everyone in the building was awesome. The one thing that was different when I got to Chicago was everything was updated. Everything, as soon as you walked in the door, like in Pittsburgh, when I was there, I think they updated the weight room like the year after I left, but we were still lifting weights and using stuff from like back in the 60s. You know what I mean? Like, the pads on the benches are all ripped up and broken, dumbbells are old, and some of them are bent, like, just like old, like super old machines, like pec deck and stuff, like, it was like working out in like a Rocky gym or something.
Yeah, the same sweat that John Kolb had on those dumbbells was the same
Yes,
sweat.
literally,
You're,
they would be like, yeah, those have been there since the steel curtain. Yeah, so it was like a lot of stuff was old, you know what I mean? We shared a building with Pitt, so like we didn't have the same stuff, but literally there's just a building with a wall down the middle, two front doors, one says Steelers, one says Pitt Panthers. So and then like we'd go outside and they're out there at the other end of the fields practicing, like that stuff was different.
yeah,
Um, just I think from any atmosphere, being somewhere and there being another team there was different. Especially like in the NFL atmosphere. I get to Chicago and it's like there's a whole compound just for the Bears. You know what I mean? Like you pull down a private drive, it's just Bears. Like at the Steelers, it was like space. You know what I mean? It's in the city, so there's no space for all that.
right.
In Chicago, we're like up in the burbs, but I would just say, I think in Chicago they took a little better little better care of their players physically and stuff like that. From a business aspect, it was a lot more straightforward. In Pittsburgh, I think they have their ways. They always do it. They're kind of notorious for forcing out guys who don't want to leave, like Troy Polamalu's and Brett Kiesels and things like that. But it works for them, and business is business, and it's a tough business. So that's just kind of the brutal reality of what football is.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, as soon as I think I mentioned John Kolb there, we had a comment from Caleb Kolb. He said, "Let's go." So there you go. Shout out to Adventures in Training with a Purpose.
Yes, yes, great people, great organization. John actually trained me while I was still playing football.
Nice,
Yeah,
nice. What a beast.
yeah.
It seems to me every once in a while I do see. It does seem like some. I don't know whether it's college or professional or just a team maybe like on social media or something where I see that there's still some old school training that goes on, which in my opinion, it kind of seems, I mean, we got some places around here, you could go to Grissetti's and it seems that you can get some top-notch training. And you think, well, some of these professional organizations aren't even up to some of this stuff. It kind of seems odd to this day.
Well, that's the thing is like it's a lot different in the NFL from a training aspect because they don't actually train the players in the off season. So I mean, all those organizations are leaps and bounds ahead of anything around here for technology wise and what they do for players. But it's just like it's a meat grinder of a league, you know what I mean? And guys are just always down bad, and like guys like in an NFL locker room, like for instance, when I was in the Steelers, the locker bay was Dave DeCastro or Kelvin Beachum, Dave DeCastro, or me, then Dave DeCastro, and then there was one locker at the end. And that locker at the end, man, whoever was in that locker would get fired once or twice every week. There'd be a new person in there every week. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And so there's like a lot of people just getting shuffled out, a lot of lives just hanging in the balance, things like that. But I don't know. It's just a wild thing. The NFL it's nuts.
Yeah. How many times did Roethlisberger buy you guys dinner?
Like a couple.
A couple.
Not many. Ben was a different dude back when I was there. He is a fearless competitor, fearless leader. On the field, dude, I don't know that I would take anybody above him. I played in some games with Ben where he broke records. Threw for 500 yards and I think 5, 6, 7 touchdowns, whatever. So really loved playing with that guy. And off the field, I think he'd been in the league so long, you know what I mean, that he was kind of just at a different place than most of us. When I was there, we were all a lot younger than him. Didn't per se have too much in common, you know what I mean?
Right.
So we didn't really hang out with Ben very much. I think from the outside looking in, like as Ben's family has grown and as he's gotten older, it's been cool to see him do more with the young teammates and stuff like that. Like I saw him, I think he had like all the young wideouts and stuff to his house in Atlanta and stuff like that, and like doing more things like that. It's been cool to see. But yeah, no, I didn't hang out with Ben very much outside of the huddle.
Gotcha. So let me ask you this. I meant to ask Jawan Johnson this the last time when he was on our show, one of the wide receivers for Penn State and then Oregon. Now he's going to play for the Saints. But I want to know for the viewers, I want to know like an actual schedule that you guys go through. So were you able to take me through an actual schedule, like on a day-to-day basis as like a Pittsburgh Steeler?
Oh, yeah.
Like I want to know some details too, man. Like I personally would like to know hour by hour.
Oh, hour by hour? Yeah, I can give you that.
Give it to us.
So, Tuesdays are the off day. So on your off day, you would just have to go in and see the trainers, get your work done on your body, go work out with the strength staff, do that, maybe watch some film, then you go home. So you're usually on your off day out of there by noon or so. And then
And you're in there at what
um,
time?
off days, if you had to see the trainer mandatory, you'd have to be there like 6 a.m.
Okay.
or 7. If not, you could get in there whenever, 9, 10, you know, and be there for a few hours. But so yeah, Wednesdays was the first day of the week, and most guys would want to work out in the morning, so get there around like 5:30 ish or so. Um, around 5 ish, work out till almost 7. Go take a shower real quick. Go in, or probably not even take a shower real quick. Then just go to the cafeteria, eat breakfast, go back to the locker room, shower up, hit the hot tubs and cold tubs, start taking care of the body and all that kind of stuff. And then uh, go ahead and get ready for meetings. So then you're up in meetings. You got individual meetings about 7:30, if not 8 o'clock, and then you're in there for about an hour. Then you have a team meeting for about an hour or so, and then an offensive meeting for however long that takes, 30, 20, 30 minutes, 40 minutes. And then you're back in your individual meetings with just the offensive line. And you'd be in there for uh, until about, I think, until like 11 a.m. or so. And then we would go and we'd have lunch and then we'd have a walkthrough. So basically, like a walkthrough is the entire practice is scripted, like what play we're going to run against, which defense, which scenarios. Like, so the walkthrough is us doing practice half speed, and then we come inside from the walkthrough, which takes an hour and a half or whatever, have our little break, which is like 45 minutes or whatever, an hour to get ready for practice. So you go get taped up, all that stuff, do your prehab, get your body right, and meet on the field. Practice is 2 hours long, so we go out there, have a 2 hour practice, come in, and we'd have like an hour to like do whatever you had to do. So shower up, go see the trainers, work out, whatever. Do that. So you do whatever you do for that hour. Then we have meetings. So we're back in individual meetings. And so the first individual meetings of the day, you're watching what you're going to do in practice that day, right? And then you're watching like what you're going to do in practice today from a live game against the team you're going to play. So then you go out and you do that at practice. Then you come in, you watch yourself do it at practice, and then you get done and you watch what you're going to do the next day before you watch it again the next day. And then you have a team meeting. Yeah, so you're there for like 14 hours, just straight, meetings and working out and lifting. And
You're not
that's
leaving there
how it
until
went.
night.
Oh, yeah. Not till like 6 or 7, 5:30.
Wow. Now, are people falling asleep during these meetings?
Hell yeah. Look, and that's the thing. So, like, you're not allowed to have a phone on the meeting floor at all. Like, you can't have your phone on the second floor at all in Pittsburgh. And you're allowed to get fined for anything in the NFL, right? So, like, anytime you had your phone, like, if your phone rang in a meeting, Mike T hears a phone ring, whose is it? No one says nothing. I'm getting in everybody's pockets until I know whose phone it was. So the guy pulls his phones out, $1,500. Boom.
Wow.
Oh yeah, like that. Like if you're a rookie and like the snacks aren't up to par, or there's not enough snacks in the room or something, they'll fine you whatever they see fit. Like could be whatever. Could be $1,000. Could be $100. Someone could go downstairs and take all your clothes out of your locker and throw them in a cold tub. I saw that happen to a guy.
Who's finding these rookies? Just the veteran players?
All of us, everybody. A rookie could just talk. A rookie could just say a word and be like, "Fine." and this guy'd have to pay like $100 for just speaking a word, just like, and somebody could have asked him a question, and he was just responding, and they're like, "No one told you to talk, rookie, fine." Like,
Wow.
oh, dude, yeah, it's rough.
So
It was
is that basically the form of, quote unquote hazing in the NFL, just fines?
rough, I guess. Yeah, yep. The fines go towards like well, for us anyways, like the fines would go into a pot, and like at the end of the year we would have like a big dinner, a party, and like part of that would go to like that and stuff like that.
Okay.
So I mean, it was cool, but it sucks sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. This is an interesting question that somebody had. What's the farthest drive from Pittsburgh that one of the players would drive in every day?
Oh man, well, I commuted. I think I probably was the furthest. I commuted from Hubbard for a whole
Wow.
year. Yeah, so it was an hour and 15 minutes. But yeah, I mean, it would just kind of depend. Like a lot of guys would commute from Wexford a lot, you know what I mean, Cranberry a lot, stuff like that. But yeah, I my last year I had an apartment in Shadyside, but I had my house in Hubbard, and I like to stay at home a lot, so I would just drive home every day and go hunt in the afternoons, things like that.
Right. You got a lot of acreage there, don't you?
Yeah, yeah. So it was convenient.
That's cool. Um, Another quick question: if you would go back to Ohio State just for a game, could you just walk on the field?
Yeah, so I mean, there's you can go down on the field, you go through like football personnel, all that stuff for that. But they actually, when we finish at Ohio State, um, they make lifetime season tickets available.
Hmm.
And so I became a lifetime season ticket holder my first year out. So I've got great season tickets, like right between the 40s somewhere, like 10, 15 rows up. And so it's been nice. But as a young guy, like it was still in the league and stuff, I'd go down and go on the field and do all that cool stuff. And
Oh, for
uh,
sure.
yeah, now like the guy I played next to, Justin Bourne, um, his family they got a box and a suite and stuff. So a lot of times I'll end up there with him, and it's like me and him are back in the huddle, like reliving our day. You know what I mean? So it's been really fun being out of the game and back, and you know, a fan now, and actually getting to like tailgate and do stuff like that. Like man, I went to my first NFL game day tailgate this past year for a Steelers game, and it was actually ended up being the freaking game where Ben went down. Um,
Wow.
but I like couldn't believe it. I was like, "Holy shit, this is what you guys do out here." I was like, I'm out there shotgunning beers, having a good time, man. Like just living it up. It was great.
So is it the same for NFL teams too? Like, could you go on the field for the Steelers whenever you wanted?
I don't know. I mean, I see guys go back. Probably depends on who you are, really. You know what
Okay.
I mean? But I think I mean, there's probably definitely always a way to get in there somehow. That's one thing the Bears do that's really cool is they have like an alumni week. They have where you can get tickets to any game you want. You know, like a game a year, 2 games a year, any game you want after you're an alumni, stuff like that. And it's like I said, dude, they do a really good job up there, like with former player engagement, all that kind of stuff, player golf outings and all that. And it's a cool deal.
Yeah, that's cool. Folks, if you're just tuning in, I'm with Mike Adams, all Big Ten player. Played for the Steelers, played for the Bears. Sheets, run and done. Mike, we're going to get on to the fan favorite part of the show. This is the rapid fire round.
Nice.
I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions. If you could respond immediately with what comes to the top of your head, that'll be perfect. All right, here we go. If you could go back to one moment in your playing career, high school, college, or professional, what would it be?
College, Sugar Bowl.
Goofiest Steelers teammate.
Rob Blanchflower.
That's his full name?
Rob Blanchflower. Or James Harrison. That guy's hilarious.
Okay. One defensive lineman, all offensive linemen feared.
Ooh. James Harrison was one of those guys. I mean, respected for sure.
Right. One hobby besides football.
Yoga.
Favorite sports movie.
Remember the Titans.
Amen. Last time you signed an autograph.
A week ago.
Least favorite college football stadium.
Beaver Stadium.
Well, folks, we're done with Mike. No, let's see. Most talented football player you ever played with.
Antonio Brown.
Best college football atmosphere.
Horseshoe night game.
One sport you're bad at. I like it. Loudest game you've ever played in.
Oh, probably the Sugar Bowl.
Dogs or cats.
Dogs.
Book or a movie.
Movie.
Fruits or vegetables.
Fruits.
Favorite Disney movie.
Pocahontas.
Favorite restaurant in Columbus.
Coseca, Mexican eatery.
Favorite restaurant in the Shenango Valley.
Lulu Beans, baby.
There you go. Favorite cereal.
Fruity Pebbles or Captain Crunch.
Favorite restaurant in Pittsburgh.
Eddie V's.
And this is the last but most important question of the rapid fire round. Where will the zip code be in 5 years?
Ooh, viral, baby.
And with that, Mike Adams, I'm sorry to tell you, but even though you just aced the rapid fire, maybe one of the best rapid fires ever, I'm sorry to tell you that you win absolutely nothing. But it was a heck of a rapid fire round, man.
Appreciate it. Thanks for knowing.
So let's talk about Antonio Brown. Do you think he's going to be back in the NFL at any time?
Oh man, I really hope so. You know what I mean? Like, AB, man. So I get a lot of questions about AB as people know I played with him. So I will just give my whole take on AB. AB was one of the best dudes I ever played with. He cared about guys on the team as much, if not more than anyone, especially the guys who were nobodies, like practice squad guys and stuff like that. He'd invite them all to come train with him every single day, stay at his house, like all kinds of stuff. I had a couple buddies who lived with me who were from the Shenango Valley, and I remember after practice one day, I was like, got a text from my one roommate, and he asked if I could bring him some gloves home, so for him doing the yard work, like to wear, like some old practice gloves, and I kind of like chuckled, and I like AB said something, and I was like, hey, can I get a pair of gloves? My roommate needs some gloves to do lawn work, and he took a picture, autographed them for him. The guy still has them now.
Nice.
But I think what happened, a lot of people will say, what do you think it is with AB? You think he has CTE, all this stuff and all that? I'm like, man, I mean, I guess like that'd be a really easy way to go, and like really typical of non-football playing football people to just throw that out there. You know what I mean? And but no, I think what happened with AB is like, AB was a guy who came out of college and was like a 6th-round pick from Central Michigan who was like a quote unquote nobody. You know what I mean? Nobody knew who he was. He started playing for the Steelers. He wasn't a big name. He ended up being really good on punt returns, kickoff returns, made the Pro Bowl as a returner. Started to get a little steam, but Mike Wallace was the big guy. You know what I mean? It was him and Emmanuel Sanders.
Yep.
So then AB becomes the best wide receiver in football, period. Not even comparable to anyone for 6, 7 straight years, and gets a Madden cover, all that. He's on top of the world, literally. He's in the Drake's God's Plan video, all that. You know what I mean? He's like giving back to the kids all over in Florida. Taking hundreds of bikes to the kids in Florida. Got like all types of crazy stuff. Do people make mistakes? 100%. And so, I think AB was right on top of the world, and he made one mistake, and overnight, you go from probably getting hundreds of thousands of positive mentions every single day on all social media platforms to getting hundreds of thousands, if not even more, because of people who never even used to look at your stuff before. But now you get in trouble, everybody looks. So now you're probably even getting, what, a million mentions a day, probably close to, all negative about how big of a piece of trash you are, all that. I mean, it would be probably pretty easy to lose your shit. You know what I mean? Especially if you don't have good people in your corner, a good support system. You know what I mean? Like his family is falling apart. So I mean, I think that's what happened. I think when the world chews you up and spits you out like that, it humbles you. You know what I mean? Like things like ego death and stuff like that. It changes a person. I think he can get back to good old AB, call God AB. You know that guy, 100%. And I would absolutely love to see him come back and wreck the league.
Before we get into the last segment, the buy or sell, I do think that, and you know this, you've seen guys, you've played with guys that, you know, there's a lot of ebbs and flows. I mean, it's just how it is, and really in any career. But I mean, when you have all the glitz and the glamour and the fame, and basically, like you said, you're on top of the world. I mean, listen, people, you know, like you said, that there's people have different people in their corner, and if you don't have a
Yeah,
good support system, and they're not really well versed in how to, you know, deal with that type of stuff, I think it's just a crapshoot. What's going to happen with somebody like that?
exactly. Yeah.
So let's get to the buy or sell. We got 9 more minutes until Instagram kicks us off. So buy or sell, the Steelers will not only make the playoffs this season, but they'll at least win one playoff game.
So
Le'Veon Bell will suit up in a Steelers jersey once again before he retires.
bye.
Mm. Urban Meyer will coach football
If
again.
Kevin Colbert's out of there, what is Urban Meyer will what?
Okay, so you're saying if the GM's out of there. Gotcha. Urban Meyer will coach football again.
I'll buy that.
Tom Brady and Gronk lead the Buccaneers to the Super Bowl
I'll buy that.
and win the Super Bowl.
I'll buy that.
Mm.
I'm buying it. That's that. I'm calling it. As a matter of fact,
Folks, you've heard it here on the Zip Code. Mike Adams is calling a Buccaneers Super Bowl victory. I don't know the odds right now in Vegas, but hey, there you go.
I'm actually moving down to St. Petersburg, which is right across from Tampa. Not particularly so I can go to a game, but I'm gonna go to a game.
There you go. And last but not least, college football fans will be able to see their team in person this fall.
Some of them will.
Some of them will, yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. So you think Le'Veon Bell will suit up again for the Steelers?
I could see it happening. Like if Kevin Colbert got out of there or something like that. I think definitely. I think he would play for Mike T again.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like front office GM stuff, I think that relationship was probably pretty sour.
Yeah. Interesting. So with the last remaining minutes here, let's talk a little about what you're doing now in the Shenango Valley. So you're a big hunter, correct?
Big hunter, yoga teacher. So
When'd you get into yoga?
like my second year in the league, so back in 2014, I was like 100 pounds heavier, and I went to a hot yoga class at Amazing Yoga in the south side of Pittsburgh, where I teach now, and got my ass handed to me. It was so hot, I was dying after 20 minutes. So in the off season, I was like, well, damn, I guess I know what I'm doing. So I started doing it in the off season, got real into it. When I stopped playing, actually after I had back surgery, my 4th year, I got really into yoga, and it has pretty much saved my life since football. It got me back into things. I'm feeling good. I'm mobile, able to move around well, without too many, bad days of aches and pains and things like that. But it's also given me a way to really connect with people and help people, and be involved in the community and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. For some high school football players that are watching this right now that see what you've done, look up to you, want to be the next person from the Shenango Valley or for wherever they're from to make it to a D1 college and then maybe play professionally, one little tidbit of advice for them.
You got to just think like every day when you're at home chilling with your boys or playing video games and things like that. There's another kid out there who plays the same exact position as you, has the same goals as you, and who's probably working harder than you. So, I mean, until you can tell yourself, look yourself in the mirror with, you know, where you're working, how hard you're working. I always wanted to go home every day and literally say that there's probably not another high school offensive tackle in the country who's working as hard as me. And it would be hard for me to sleep at night if I didn't really believe it. So, you're going to work for what you want and get after it and be the hardest one working out there.
Yeah, absolutely. As far as some growth in the Shenango Valley, as far as you're concerned, do you think there's something that the Shenango Valley could really benefit from? I'm always on this show preaching that we need at least some sort of sports complex because we don't have good weather for 7 months out of the year. So how are we going to keep kids, from getting into different things, and how are we going to keep them in shape if we don't have the best in the area? And I always preach that. But anything, would you agree with that?
Absolutely, man. I think it's some sort of sports complex, rec center. I don't know what a great thing to do at the Shenango Valley Mall. You know what I mean? Lots to do there that could help the community. Keep the kids involved. Urban farming, all kinds of stuff. You know what I mean? Just a lot of ways that you could really help out the community. But I think just having young people get involved in the community. Even at like a local government level, you know what I mean? Having young minds come in and change some things so that guys who are willing and capable, like Jim Landino, don't always have to come to the rescue.
Right.
You know what I mean? Wouldn't it be nice for Jim to just get to have one evening where him and Jim get to sit and focus on something they want to do for themselves? You know what I mean?
Yep.
I think there's a lot of really good folks in the area and a lot of young people doing really good things. So that really excites me for the area, and it'll be really interesting over the next 15 years or so to see the changes that occur with the help of guys like Jim and stuff like that, and just the whole direction things are moving right now.
Yeah, I got one more question, but I want to say this real fast. I put on my Facebook the other day that we need something like the Rucker in Harlem, but we need to put it in Farrell. We need to get we need to bring what we have. We need to get some culture. We need to get some pep in some people's step. Hey, we got amazing athletes.
That's there. Emerson Playground, baby.
We got amazing athletes in the area. Let's give them something that we can all be proud of. Let's show up and support something like that. I think it would be sick. We need to invest in some sports things where, look, we got a bunch of people in the area that are unbelievable athletes.
Sick athletes.
Let's do something about it.
Heck yeah.
I mean, it's tough, I know, because even with something like a rec center, a sports complex, you're not going to get rich from running one, but
right.
You might be able to turn a profit, but you got to have tournaments and you got to be able to bring people in, which that would bring people into the Shenango Valley. But we need something that people can be proud of on the sports side of things.
100%. I mean, there's tons of ways to make money doing things like that. To help, and even ways to make money and put it back in the community.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's tons of communities that do it already. But, the people also have to want to do that. And the people have to want to help all the kids. People from Hermitage can't just want to help the people from Hermitage.
Yep.
People from Hermitage have to be okay with their kids playing with the kids from Farrell.
Yep.
Amen.
I mean?
And as sad as it is to say, that's a huge divide that has always been a thing in the area and continues to be. But with all the things going on, hopefully that's something that changes as well.
Yeah, I agree. Really, whenever I think of my hometown, I graduated from Hickory in 2010. When I went to Penn State and came back, I just started thinking, listen, our whole area is one. The Shenango Valley is one. I don't care where you're from. We live in the same place.
Exactly. We're all from the valley.
Yeah, 100%. So my last question's a weird one. Why the heck doesn't Mike Adams have a blue check mark?
I do on my Insta or my Twitter. I just leave IG for good old fun.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, folks. So this is Mike Adams. Mike, listen, man. Thanks for coming on the Zip Code, dude. I appreciate it, and everybody else appreciates it that watches this. Hopefully they had some fun. They learned a lot. But seriously, man, thanks for coming on and shooting the breeze with us.
Heck yeah, my pleasure, brother.
Hey, hope you'll be a friend of the show in the future. Guys, thank you for watching the Zip Code. We'll be on next week. We'll get you some more details about our next guest. But as I always say, I love you, Shenango Valley. We will see you guys soon. Thanks, Mike.
See you.